Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're jumping down the rabbit hole that is Halo's version of the Flat Earth theory, where the Noble Six somehow, fuck knows how, survived Reach. Now, for the record, if you couldn't tell already, I don't believe this for a second. I've read a bunch of theories, really don't buy into any of them, but what I'm going to do for this video is reanalyze the fine details of his death scene with a completely objective open mind, and I mean that I'm going into this with a perfectly open mind, and I'm just going to try and see what conclusion I can come to. So, the first and most common theory is that we don't actually see Noble Six get stabbed, and thus he fought off the Zealots and escaped the Azod shipyard. Now, as ridiculous as this might sound, this theory could have a little bit of credence. Our view of the first stabbing is mainly blocked by the Elite's foot, and after it moves gradually, we see Noble Six's shields break, and even for a few frames, we can see the position of the Elite's sword. It misses Six, it doesn't hit him, and then he hits the Elite's arm and knocks the sword out of his hand and breaks his shields. Now, this is the first stabbing that looks like a critical hit to Six, but when you look at it closely, you'll realise that the energy sword doesn't actually hit him, it sort of goes over his shoulder. With that Zealot taken care of, the Ultra previously blocking the camera jumps on him and tries to stab him with his energy dagger, and again, when you look at it up close, it misses. Six rolls to the right and the dagger seems to either scrape his back or just miss him entirely. This I actually do believe, because if the dagger did land where it looked like it was supposed to, it would have hit his spinal cord, which would have completely disabled him, most definitely not allowing him to retaliate in the way that he does and kill, or at the very least, break the shields of the Ultra. And then, just before the Zealot is about to stab Six with his energy dagger, which actually looks like it is going to hit his upper body, the scene switches to what is supposedly after Noble Six's death. Now, it's worth noting that both instances of him not actually being stabbed, supposedly, could just be down to bad animation and mocap in the cutscene, most likely because we were never intended to see Six actually getting stabbed. It was just meant to be implied from what little we could see of the Elite's movements and behaviours. This implicit suggestion is something that Bungie did like to do a lot, so it really wouldn't surprise me if it were true, and if it was, it would explain the janky animation. There's no reason for the stabbings to be perfectly animated if they're going to be blocked from our view by the Elite. There's just no reason to waste time and resources doing so. This leaves the believability of this up in the air. Feel free to believe the Elites actually did miss Six each time they tried to stab him, but personally, I don't buy it. It makes sense for the animators to just not do fine touches on the animations because we're never supposed to see this. So, I don't know, it's up in the air, believe what you want. Right, moving on to another thing I came across, and that is the location of Noble Six's helmet. I managed to find the exact place in the map where he drops his helmet, as you can see right here. It even has those mountains in the background. Now, what's interesting is that it seems to move between the final time we see him fighting the Elites and the cutscene. As you can see, the big mountain in the background isn't there behind where Six originally drops his helmet, but it is there in the final cutscene. It's also worth noting that this clearly takes place before the area is glassed, as there's still grass between the helmet, which would get fucking eviscerated by superheated plasma, which means that it can't be in the same location, as this concrete wall should still be there. So, what does this mean? Well, there's the obvious possibility that Six did survive the initial attack from the Elites in the shipyard and escaped that location, picking up his helmet to maybe try and seal his armor to protect him from the radiation of the nearby glassing, or something like that. This doesn't mean that he survived Reach, rather he just survived the encounter that everyone thought he died during, and could have, or likely did die later in the glassing or at the hands of more Covenant soldiers. There's also the possibility that, again, this is just artistic license. Bungie wanted to create a memorable shot of Six's helmet in the final cutscene, which they did do pretty fucking well, and in doing so, they added a vast mountainscape in the background. Honestly, this is the most believable to me, but it doesn't totally discount the idea of Noble Six surviving the first encounter, picking up his helmet, and then taking it to die in another area. Honestly, this is the most believable to me. It's the most sane explanation, but it doesn't totally discount the idea of Noble Six surviving the first encounter, picking up his helmet, and then just taking it to another area to die in that location. It seems weird, but it doesn't discount it. Right, finally there's something I want to touch on regarding Halsey's speech and the last shot of Noble Six's helmet. In the speech, she says, "Your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass." Now, this got me thinking because it technically isn't true. Post-glassing, when humanity are recolonizing Reach, his helmet is still intact, and the mountain range is an identical shape, which indicates that the area possibly wasn't glassed. If this is the case, then along with my previous point about him surviving the initial encounter with the elites and then moving his helmet, it suggests that Noble Six may have survived by avoiding the glassing. Now again, this doesn't mean that he survived Reach or even got off Reach, but it doesn't completely rule it out. There is always the chance that, for the third time now, this is just artistic license, meant to symbolise the part of Halsey's speech where she says that everything was turned to glass apart from his courage. This helmet could quite well symbolise Noble Six's courage, considering it survived being glassed long enough to see the recolonization of the planet that he died to save. Overall though, I honestly don't believe that he survived Reach. Yeah, he maybe could have survived the initial encounter with the elites, but still, I honestly doubt that he managed to get off Reach. This, combined with the amount of times 343 and Bungie devs both confirmed that he is definitely not alive, make it basically impossible to fully buy into the opposite. But then again, feel free to believe what you want. I'm not saying that there's no evidence for it, because as I've explained in this video, there kind of is. There's actually a surprising amount of evidence, but then again, I really don't buy it. Let me know your views on this in the comments. Let me know whether you think he is alive and still kicking somewhere in some weird Oni facility, or whether you think this really is Halo's flat Earth theory. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow.